In this video, I'm going to show you at least 3 ways that you can use cardboard that you've taken out of the recycle bin and use it to create things that you can have in your stash that you can use in your mixed media and art journal projects. Hi, I'm Creative Katie Karen Burchill. Welcome to my studio. So we recently bought some furniture, and when they brought it into the house, it was wrapped in this single-faced corrugated cardboard. As he took it off, I quickly grabbed it and moved it into my studio. I got some puzzled looks, I admit it. Then I went and I cut them so that they were easily storable in the space that I have. You can't store more than what you have room for. So this lovely stuff I am going to turn into mark makers that we are going to make a variety of collage papers. And that's what the video is going to be about. I'm going to walk you through that. If you want to get this and you're not getting furniture, go check it out at the furniture store. They may have some there. You can buy single-faced cardboard in rolls like this on Amazon. I will link that in the description box below. It's nice that they come in a roll. They'd be easily stored. You can rip off the one layer of regular cardboard, and I have made a video where I show how to do that more easily. It can be a bit of a chore. And you can buy craft sheets. I got some of these at Dollar Tree or Dollarama. I've also seen them at Michael's. So you have options if you don't get a free gift with purchase. So I knew I wanted to use this as a mark maker with my gel plate. And I wanted to cut it to size of my gel plate. So I have a 12 by 12. So I'm just using my 12 by 12 stencil to eyeball it. I tried using the X-Acto knife and a straight edge here, but quite honestly, it was easier just to cut it with scissors. So just mark it. You don't even have to draw the line here as I'm doing. You can just eyeball it. Depends how particular you are on making it look so perfect. So on my 8 by 10, I want to be able to turn it because I want to get a certain effect. So I need to make for my 8 by 10 it to be 10 by 10 square. So that way I can turn it and I don't have any leftovers. So I have made for my 8 by 10, 10 by 10 measurement. For my 5 by 7 plate, 7 by 7, and my 12 by 12 is just 12 by 12. So one of my favorite things to do with the cardboard is to make a plaid effect gel print that I can use as a collage paper. I find I really use them. They're kind of generic. They go on a multitude of mixed media and art journal pages. And that's what I'm going to create for here. I'm going to walk you through slowly and then I'm going to speed up the video. So here I've just applied a layer of Liquitex Basics acrylic paint. Not too much, not too little. And then I'm putting the cardboard with the stripes going up and down. Now, the harder you press, the wider the spaces. It pushes the paint to the side and you get more white or contrast. So you can play with that. Now I'm putting this onto a sheet. Later I'll put it on some other collage papers. None of the paint is wasted. You just want to get some of that paint off of the cardboard. It just will give a different kind of print. Then I turn it the other way and I get that checkered plaid look. This is the 8 by 10 gel plate and my cardboard is cut 10 by 10. And you can see the mark making that has on that sheet. So now I'm just using recycled paper. Things that I've reclaimed out of the recycle box, and I'm just using that, and pressing it down, because when you glue it down, you don't see that other side. And there we have the plaid look. But it's going to get a lot more interesting now. This is very plain because that's the first pull, but you'll notice that there is stuff left on the gel plate, and that is where the magic happens. It's also where you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So I'm thinking, okay, we have the green on there, so now I'm going to put light blue permanent on top. Blue and green work really well. Now, I know a little bit about how colors work because I've played with it. If you're just new, experiment, have fun. It's recycled paper and a little bit of paint. So you never know unless you try, and you're going to learn a lot about what you like in colors. So again, I'm pressing the cardboard in, up and down, and then pressing it off onto the paper just to get rid of the excess. And you can use that as a mark making tool. That sheet that I'm pressing it on ends up being another collage paper with a slightly different effect. Turning it and pressing. And then you have that checkered pattern. Now, instead of putting this onto a white paper, I'm going to grab this gel print that we already had, and I'm going to mix the two to get that plaid look with some color variation and some interest. And there you have it. Look at that. Now, if you didn't have a plaid one already, you could just use it on a gel print that just has one base color, and you can put that on it, or a scrapbook paper. But you'll notice again, there's lots left on the gel plate, and that those grungy bits are great. So now it's mostly blue and green, so I'm picking yellow. I'm thinking that will work well. I'm not really waiting for what's on the gel plate to dry. I'm just moving far ahead. I'm going for the organic, not perfect look, because that's what I like. And I like using that in my art. So I'm pressing it again, pressing off, turning and going. So this I would do as a whole stash builder session where I'm just going to make different colored plaids and replenish so I have some of every color in my stash. Then I can pull these out and use them when I want. Now I could just take my art journal page and put this right on here and have that as the first coat if that's what I wanted. Typically that's not what I do. And look at the mixture. Now, the more stuff we end up with on our plate, the more interesting and varied and organic our collage papers work. Now, I'm just putting this on copy paper, but you could put it on deli paper. You could put it on tissue paper, whatever you want. So now I have yellow and blue on there, and I'm using Prussian blue, one of my all-time favorite colors. And I like having some of this dark navy blue in my stash. So I build contrast in my papers. So you remember, I want some yellows, and I want yellows with greens, and yellows with reds, and blues with purples. And really, there's nothing that you can do that's not going to work. So you can see that rub off sheet over there is getting a lot of checks and marks, and it's going to be an interesting collage sheet. So here I'm just putting it on that blank copy paper. But what you can do is have other gel prints, like some of the plaid ones we've done, or something that's already in your stash that just needs a little something, something extra. And then you can take that and press this on. And this just added that little bit of navy onto that. And oh, OMG, loving it. And when I have a navy gel print and this one, they're going to go together because the color is in both. And when you want things to work together. Now I will be speeding up the video, but good news is all of these prints and some that were done off camera are going to be shown at the end. But I did want to show you different color combinations and give you an idea. I will also link a video where I specifically am teaching the plaid effect. Yum. Love that. And as you can see, every time I take off, there's still stuff that's left on the gel plate. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. There's a randomness about this that you can't predict, but that's what makes for some amazing collage sheets. Here I put Naples yellow on top of the Prussian blue. Oh, and then that makes it green. Oh, love the grunge on that. And as I said, this plaid effect, I find I really have used these collage sheets. I've made these multiple times, and they're a nice, almost neutral in amongst my collage papers. So there's a gel print that just was basically one color, and I'm just adding color to it with the excess. So here I've got it purple with the blue and pulling it off. And oh, lots left on. So I'm adding quinacridone magenta. After we do some more plaid prints here, I am going to show you another way to use the gel print with some of the cardboard markers, but then I'm going to use them as mark makers and put away the gel plate. So keep watching. Lots of information in here. So we have the purple and the pink, and just adding some to some of those original gel prints that I've pulled. Yum. The difficult part is that no matter how you try, you can get a close print a second time. If you like something, you can get it close, but you're never going to get it exactly right because we're not in control of how much is left on the plate. If you put more paint, if the paint is thinner or thicker, everything's going to make it a little bit different. So you're going to have to play. Like I said, I'm using mainly Liquitex Basics on here. If you were using craft paints, it would act a little bit different, and you're just going to have to play with what you have and see what you can make it do. Even the humidity, everything's going to affect how much is going to come off the plate at the time, how much paint you put, how much you let it dry, how quickly you work. But there isn't a bad pull here. Of all the ones I did, there are some that I like more. There are some that are going to need, in my mind, something added to it. But for the most part, very happy with the stash of plaid-like gel prints. Now, I'm doing the crosshatch and getting the plaid, but you could be using that cardboard, just putting it one way and getting a basic print off of it. So here are a few more, the Naples yellow with the greens and blues in the background. Cadmium yellow with red. Yellow and green. Every color of the rainbow. Now, if it gets kind of bent out of shape, don't worry about it. That's just going to lead to a more organic feel. If you really it gets really damaged, you can cut yourself another one and use that. So depending on, again, what you prefer. And just a reminder, I will showcase all these plaid-like jelly prints at the end of the video. So you'll get a closer look with them and you can pick out one you like to try. I love working with the plaid ones. They always seem to work kind of as a neutral on when I use them for collaging. And I like to have, when I'm setting up the plaid, I'd like mainly red with blue, mainly red with green, maybe red with yellow. And then it makes it easy for me to mix and match and use them on one page. Oh, the navy ones, I'm totally going to be using them. So excited to have replenished those in my stash. Now, the little bits that I had, little pieces, I cut into different shapes. So I've got kind of curves, triangles, petals, circles, leaf sides. So some of these, if there's the smaller ones, I am actually going to attach to these empty gum containers. I have made mark making tools, stamps with fun foam. and I'll link that video. But basically here, I'm just taking painter's tape and taping one of these on the lid, and then I have backing to use it as a stamp. Here's a small petal, and then I do a small rectangle later that you're going to see. But pretty much any shape goes here. If you can think it, you can use it to make marks, and every one of them is going to give a slightly different mark. Now, I've mounted some on those gum containers. You can mount them on wooden blocks. You can mount it on a couple layers of cardboard if you want. So to use these with the gel plate, I'm just putting on a layer of color. Here I've mixed yellow and blue. And then I'm just using the mark maker, whether it's the one that's attached to the stamp or just the cardboard in of itself, and just getting the marks. It's just going to add pattern and texture to it. Now here I am using my second plate, and I will link the video where I do the 2-plate technique because you really maximize your time and get lots of collage papers. And I'm stamping that off onto the second plate. And that's going to give me another pull, another gel print using it. Again, with the recycled paper, one side is done. In fact, you could go right over the print too. And then you pull it. There, it's just added some interest to what I already had. There's still stuff left on the plate. And then I'm adding some, I think that's magenta, spraying it on, and then we'll do a pull. Again, there is no right or wrong. You just have to experiment and play and not overthink it. I think that's the secret to success with gel printing. I just want interesting, layered, textured gel prints, collage papers to use. So having little bits of color in there, that grunge, oh, that's just everything. And I know the usability will go. So now I'm just going to use this gel plate as a stamping pad. And I'm just stamping some of the magenta with that same stamp. So now we've got some yellow there and some magenta ones. And I could use any of those that are on the left-hand side to do this with. I just kept with the same stamp. Then I'm putting a layer of blue on, and I'm going to try to pull that print. Now here, depending on how much paint you have, you will be successful or not. It will lift what's on the plate or not. And right here, I'm having a hard time getting it to lift off because, well, I think I had too much paint. So you just, again, that's going to vary with the humidity that where you are, with how much paint you put on, what kind of paint. So that one just became blue, left all the good stuff on the plate. I'm thinking, what should I do? So I decide to just see if I could pull it, and I grabbed another sheet, and yes, it's going to come off. Now, I'm not trying to make great art here or do anything excessive. I'm just showing you the possibilities. You go and play. So I'm going to keep these close at hand when I'm on my gel plate, when I'm using them to mark make, when I have an art journal page. So here's that blue sheet that's basically just blue now. And I'm pulling some gel prints and some collage papers that, aren't quite done. You could do this on scrapbook paper. You could do it on some napkins, what have you. You could do it straight onto an art journal page that you've put a base color on or something. The same steps apply. And this isn't, difficult at all. Basically, we're just going to put paint on the mark maker, the cardboard mark maker, and use the cardboard as a stamp. And it's going to give you some organic feel. Again, I'm using the gel plate as a stamp pad. I'm spreading the paint on it, but later on, I put away the gel plate, and I just use my desktop or your craft mat. So here I'm putting some aqua on. You can use whatever color you want that goes with what you want. So if I was making this art journal page and I had that, we're going to use the aqua to build some contrast. I might put some black there because, oh, that always makes things better. Here I'm just getting tired of cleaning up the gel plate, so I'm just going to put the black paint right onto my glass top. I have a glass top that just covers my entire table, and it's so easy to clean. Highly recommend, except for filming because you get the reflection of the lights and the reflection of whoever's creating. So here I'm using again one of those stamps. This one's the petal shape, and I'm just adding it. Could not be easier. I'm going quickly. I'm not even trying to get perfect stamping. So I'm thinking that one's pretty much done. Let's see if we can do another one. This one's aqua, kind of as a gel print. It's not exactly exciting. And I'm going to add some black. I'm just going to dip it into the black paint instead of putting it on with the brayer. You do whatever works best for you. And you can see how the shape of what you've cut out sometimes shows up when you do this. Now, if I was trying to make it perfectly, if I wanted the perfect shape that matches my cutout, I would mount that on a couple layers of cardboard or foam core. And then I'd be sure to get the full thing. But I'm going for a more organic feel. And if you turn it the other way, you can get kind of that crosshatch. But I decide not to here. So this gel print, I really didn't like how it turned out. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got nothing to lose here. What am I going to do? So I'm just grabbing some white paint and I just want to put another layer on top, and that's going to knock back what is here and maybe save this or turn it into something I'm going to like. So I just grabbed one of these narrow strips and I'm just pressing part of it, and it changes the feel of what was. And you're in control. You can put as much or as little of this mark making on here. Now, in real life, if I was doing an art journal page like this, I would be mixing and matching with my stamps, with my stencils, with my mark makers. But for the sake of the video, I'm just sticking to the cardboard mark makers. I'm using the gift with purchase. And I'm liking this a whole lot better. I don't think it's done yet. So here's kind of this curvy one. And you do get that shape on there. You could shade around that, make it or trace around it with a Posca pen and make it stand out even more if that's the way you want to go. And again, I just encourage you to play, experiment. If you can think it, I wonder what would happen if, do it. Now you don't have to do just black and white. Here I'm using Prussian blue. You can use whatever color. For simplicity's sake, for the video, I'm sticking mostly to the same color. The benefit of using mark makers like this, like ones that you are using the bottoms of produce containers or the lids, it's uniquely your own. You will not see anybody have exactly the same as you. Loving that. So here I'm just adding a little bit more Prussian blue lines on. That was one of the, I believe, plaid pulls. there wasn't quite enough there. So I wanted to add a little bit more detail. This one I had a petal with white. This is that curvy one, kind of the wave with black on a failed gel print. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, wow, ooh, you could use the cardboard mark maker and add little ribbons of gold on there. Wouldn't that look amazing? Especially on dark colors. I'll have to give that a try. The ideas never end. So if you're watching this and you get an idea, oh, I bet this color would work, or maybe I should do this shape, write it down because you'll forget. I'm adding a petal there, adding some darks and some lights. Remember, I'm not necessarily going to use this as an Insta background. I'm not sure how I'm going to use it. It's going into my stash and I will pull it out at a later date and transform it. I'm just adding marks. Here I've got the long strip and I'm just adding just a little bit of grunge. That's what I'm loving about these mark makers. It's very imperfect, it's very organic, and it just adds just one more thing to what you have going on. And the best part is, you'll get more cardboard and they can be multiple uses and you don't have to clean them. Again, another gel print. I'm just adding some Prussian blue there and grunging it up. And just that adding that second layer transforms it, turns it into something that I like a whole lot better now. So I like the idea of doing a stash builder here. You get the black, you have your mark makers out, and you're just adding one more layer to what's already there. And you have it on your desk. I have a pile of white there, I have the black. So clean up, it's a one-time thing, not a multi-time thing. That's the benefit of building a stash. You can also use these mark makers, of course, to break the art journal page. Here is a plain blank 7x10 art journal page, and I'm just going to add some black marks on here to break that page and start the first layer of the page. Remember, anything you saw me do on a gel plate or gel print, you can do on an art journal page. Just a little bit, grunge it up. Now, you can use the mark makers to stamp on deli or tissue paper. This becomes translucent and disappears, and you apply it on your page. The benefit of this is you can rip or cut it apart, isolate parts that you like, parts that work, and audition it on the page without going right onto the page, for those of us that fear messing up what we really love. So even better than deli paper or tissue paper, I like using the excess napkin plies. I use a lot of napkins. They have 2 excess plies that I pull off. I keep them. And now you can use them, stamp whatever marks you want on them. Here I'm just using the cardboard. And I'm using primarily black paint. Now I like the napkin plies because when you glue them down, and I'm going to demo that, the white of the napkin disappears and only leaves the mark. And you're going to see whatever color you have underneath is going to show through. You can rip a portion of this or several portions of it and glue it down. So here I'm getting that kind of crosshatch plaid look just on some excess plies. And then I can just use this. I don't have to grab out the black paint or the cardboard mark maker. I can just rip it and glue it down. And so the same applies for any shape of that mark maker, any shape that I've cut. Here I'm using that circle one. I kind of like this. I might make some smaller or bigger circles. So I could just cut out the circle and use it. Or I can use a whole half of this napkin. But it's great to have some black and white or black on there because that is going to show up most of your pages. So here I'm just doing some petal shapes. If I was doing a stash builder of this, I might use my 5x7 gel plate and put the black paint on it and use it as kind of a stamp pad. That really gets the paint on it, on the stamp, very evenly. Here's the other one that I glued onto the gum container. And here is deli paper that had some stenciling on it. I'm just adding a little bit of black to it, adding another layer. This stamp, it just looks like 3 lines. I could do some writing with those lines. I can cross hatch this if I wanted to. Again, anything goes. And remember, I probably am not going to use this in its entirety. I'm probably going to rip portion of it, and that's what's going to go on my next page or mixed media project. Got a little messy here, but you know what? It's all good. Because this isn't on my art journal page, I can cut out those globs of paint and use only the portion that worked out or that looks good. If that was on an art journal page, I would have kind of a glob that I'd have to fix. So I have this long strips and I thought, oh, I like the line ones. So I'm going to put paint on the entirety of this strip and go right across my napkin. Kind of like a border. Once you are doing a stash builder, sometimes your mind is freed up because you're not focused on an end result. And a lot of times that's when your creative side of your brain takes over and you're going to get those ideas. So here I'm just working on those lines. I could put that on there and I could put my sentiment on, write my sentiment on there. As I'm looking at this, I'm getting pretty excited to try to use this on my pages and see what it adds to the pages. I could put these lines closer together if I wanted. Again, anything is possible. I'm using, a little bit of paint on something, the napkin ply, that would otherwise be thrown away. As you can see, it's a bit of a messy job. So that's again another reason I like doing stash builders because you only have the one mess to clean up. And it simplifies the process down the road when you can just go to your stash and pull out what's there. I can go up and down here and make some crosshatch if I want that pattern. Use a little more paint, it's going to be a little darker. Now, you can mix and match this with stamps that you have. I think putting a script stamp on here would be great. Here, I'm just going to show you, you can put butterflies in amongst that and make your own DIY tissue paper. Remember, everything that's white is going to go translucent. You're not going to see it, or transparent, and everything that's black is going to show. So you're going to see whatever color you have is going to come through that white part of the napkin, and the black or white is going to show. And I can rip out whatever section of this and use it on my page or my mixed media project. And I can put it on and kind of get the idea of how the composition is going to work without risking actually putting it on and having it go, oh, that was a wrong choice to make. I love the combination of the butterfly with those lines. I think I could play with those lines and other stamps, but maybe that's a video for another day. So here I'm not using black, I'm using white. And it's going to be hard for you to see, but I will show you the benefit of using white. Now remember, the white part of the napkin is going to disappear. You're going to see whatever color is behind shine through. And then the white that I'm stamping is going to stay white. It's going to be opaque and it's going to show. And I am going to do a sample of using these tissue or napkin collage papers, and you'll see what I mean. Because this is something you're going to want to do. I did most of them in black because it shows up on the camera. Obviously, the white, you're not seeing a whole lot of the detail or it's difficult to see. But everything that I'm putting, all the paint that I'm putting on there is going to stay white when you glue it down onto your art journal page or tag or whatever you're creating. And the part that has no paint on it, the napkin that has no paint on it, is going to go clear. First, I need that to dry. So here it's completely dry. And here's a tag that I've put some bright aqua and quinacridone magenta on. So now I'm just ripping a portion of this collage paper that's on napkin. And I'm just going to rip whatever shape, however much or little I want, and then I'm going to glue it down and show you how this works. And I'm going to use my fluid matte medium to do that on. But you can use Mod Podge if that's what you have, or decoupage. But you want a generous portion of it. If you put a lot or enough, it tends to go more clear. Now, you also have to remember when the napkin gets wet, it gets fragile, so you have to be a little gentle. Now, initially, the matte medium goes on cloudy, but it does dry clear. But you can see where the white paint just shines through, and you can still see the colors come through. So there's no way I would be able to stamp in that shape with that, that much precision. If I don't want a portion of the napkin, I can just rip it off once it's wet. Now let's add some of the black stamping on that napkin plies. Just rip off what you don't want. I could cut this in whatever shape I wanted. And then and I can make it go whichever way I want. So by having it on the napkin plies, it allows me to get it exactly where I want it. Putting it on the napkin also gives you a little bit of texture, which also adds interest to your page or tag or whatever you're creating. Putting it on tissue paper also makes it easier if you're putting it on a coffee container that you're decoupaging over. Getting around those rounded edges or a box. It's just a little easier to manipulate. It's hard to stamp on those kind of surfaces. I'm going to give that a dry. So let's go over first the plaid collage papers. These are the ones. Now, some of these I created on camera and some the camera may not have been on. And you just see the different color combinations. And I would mix and match, there's this green one with that blue one. I recently did one with sheep. I'm going to redo those sheep and I'm going to use the plaid. I really think, oh, isn't that a lovely gel print? See, here I would use the green with the green with and the navy together. Good basics to add to your stash. If I was collaging trees or leaves, I could use it. Lots of interest in these pages. These are pages, gel prints that I added marks to the pages using stamps, whether I've mounted them on something or not. So you can combine the stamps. You can also add other stamps and other stencils if you want. There's the leaf one with white. This was on the gel plate, actually. This one, I use the kind of swoopy one, and you can see that shape still shows up. And then I use the leaf one, 2 colors. There's another one with the swoop. Here I use the strip with just white. Here I use a different strip going the other way, and I got these long, sketchy lines. Nobody was going to be able to guess what you used to get those. Here's a triangular one, and you do see that shape. This was a triangle as well as the circle stamp. Hexagon or parallelogram. Which is it? Here I just used a piece and I just didn't press the whole thing flat. Adding some grunge. Don't forget, you can break those pages, out journal pages, with your cardboard. Love the grunge it adds. Just adding one more layer to add interest and pattern to your pages. And don't forget to make tissue paper or deli paper or napkin ply collage papers in black. And don't forget white. The white shows up surprisingly well. There, it's all perfectly dry. Isn't it spectacular? Can't wait to start using some of these on my pages. Deli paper. Love the line work. Used to be all about circles, but lately I'm really liking lines and adding lines. So this is going to stay on my desk, close at hand to use on art journal pages, or maybe another stash builder. Here's the rest of it. I'm going to store this away, and when these get grungied up or done, I can just replace them. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you give this a try. Until next time, go get creative.